Elena stood at the edge of the dense forest, a thrill coursing through her veins. This wasn't just any hike, it was an opportunity to step into the heart of Bigfoot territory, a place imbued with mystery and legend. With her well-worn boots laced tightly and her backpack filled with essentials, she felt ready to conquer whatever lay ahead. From a young age, she had been captivated by tales of elusive creatures hiding in the shadows of ancient woods. The stories fueled her imagination and ignited a thirst for adventure that had never waned. Unlike many of her friends who preferred the comforts of coffee shops and city life, Elena craved the wild and allure that pulled her into nature's embrace. As she took her first steps onto the trail, sunlight pierced through the thick canopy above, beams dancing around her. Each rustle in the underbrush sent shivers down her spine, not from fear but from exhilaration. She welcomed the solitude; it offered a chance for reflection away from her bustling life as an environmental scientist. Here, she could escape from deadlines and responsibilities, allowing herself to revel in the vastness of the natural world. But something deeper stirred within her, an instinctive pull toward not just nature but also its untold secrets. The thrill of possibility danced in Elena's mind alongside thoughts of what might be watching from the shadows. Little did she know, those thoughts were about to be tested in ways she could never have anticipated as she ventured further into the unknown. As Elena ventured deeper into the forest, the world around her transformed dramatically. Towering trees, their trunks thick and gnarled, loomed overhead like ancient guardians of an unfathomable secret. Shadows danced in the filtered sunlight, creating an intricate tapestry of light and dark that felt alive, as if the forest itself were breathing. The air was rich with the scent of damp earth and pine needles, invigorating her senses and heightening her awareness of every sound. The rugged terrain tested her footing. Jagged rocks jutted from the ground, entwined with roots that snaked across the path. Each step required careful navigation, a reminder of nature's unpredictable spirit. As she climbed higher, the underbrush thickened and the cacophony of woodland life enveloped her, a chorus of chirping birds, rustling leaves, and distant animal calls. Yet amid this symphony lay a profound silence that seemed to echo between the trees, amplifying her heartbeat. The isolation was palpable, wrapping around her like a shroud, both thrilling and intimidating. Elena's imagination soared at the thought of what might lie just beyond her line of sight, an uncharted territory filled with mysteries waiting to be uncovered. There was beauty in both the wildness surrounding her and the stories it held. With each stride into Bigfoot territory, she embraced the unknown, feeling both small in its grandeur and empowered by the ancient energy pulsing through the forest, a thrilling invitation to discover what secrets it might reveal. Elena's decision to hike alone was not made lightly. It stemmed from a yearning for independence and a desire to confront her own fears. As an environmental scientist, she often found herself surrounded by people, managing projects, and collaborating with colleagues. While she loved her work, the constant interaction sometimes felt suffocating. This hike represented a chance to escape the noise of daily life and reconnect with herself amid nature's serenity. In her mind, the wilderness was a canvas for self-discovery, each step on the trail a brushstroke toward understanding who she truly was beyond the expectations of others. The solitude provided an opportunity for reflection. She could ponder her aspirations, doubts, and the path ahead without distractions. Yet, as much as she craved this time alone, she also understood that it came with its own set of challenges. Facing the unknown terrain was daunting. Fear lurked in the corners of her mind like shadows between the trees. What if she encountered danger or found herself lost? But rather than let these thoughts paralyze her, they provoked an adrenaline-fueled determination within her. Each rustle in the underbrush felt like both a warning and an invitation to embrace courage over caution. This journey was as much about conquering the wild outside as it was about exploring the wilderness within. With every footfall, Elena sought to shed layers of doubt and emerge stronger, a true adventurer in both spirit and heart. As Elena continued along the winding trail, a subtle shift in the atmosphere began to gnaw at her sense of security. The vibrant sounds of wildlife that had initially filled her with delight were now tinged with an unsettling quietude. It was as if the forest had grown still, holding its breath in anticipation. She paused, listening intently as the chirping of birds faded into an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional crack of a twig underfoot which echoed like an ominous message. Glancing around, she caught glimpses between the trees, a flash of movement that darted just out of sight or shadows that seemed to linger longer than they should. Her heart quickened as she felt a prickling sensation on the back of her neck, an instinctual warning that perhaps she wasn't as alone as she had believed. The tall pines loomed overhead like sentinels, their branches swaying gently, whispering secrets she couldn't decipher. Each faint rustle in the underbrush heightened her awareness. Was it merely the wind playing tricks or something watching her from the shadows? The thrill of adventure began to mix with a creeping unease, planting seeds of doubt in her mind. Was it wise to venture so deep into this territory known for its legends? For every story of Bigfoot brushed aside as folklore, a part of her couldn't help but wonder if there was a kernel of truth lurking beyond the realm of imagination. Though she tried to shake off the sensations swirling around her, the forest seemed increasingly alive, and Elena was left questioning what else might be hidden within its depths. As Elena pressed on, the unsettling atmosphere thickened, and soon she stumbled upon something that made her heart race, a series of large footprints embedded in the soft earth beside the trail. The impressions were deep and wide, far too large to belong to any animal she could identify. She knelt down to inspect them, a mix of curiosity and apprehension coursing through her. They were unlike anything she had ever seen, definitely human-like, yet somehow distorted and out of place. Her mind raced with possibilities as she stood back up, a chill creeping down her spine. Just then, a low howl echoed through the trees, reverberating against the silence like a distant thunderclap. It sent a jolt of adrenaline through her veins, causing her to instinctively glance over her shoulder. Was it an animal? Or was it something more sinister lurking just beyond her view? Determined to shake off the fear, she continued along the path until she came across an unusual structure, a series of trees bent at odd angles, forming what appeared to be a crude archway. Twigs and branches were arranged in a haphazard manner around its base, as if someone or something had intentionally crafted it. The sight felt both fascinating and foreboding, amplifying the sense that she was being watched. With every step, Elena's excitement mingled with trepidation. The forest was revealing its secrets, but at what cost? The combination of footprints, howls, and strange formations hinted at a presence beyond her comprehension, one that stirred an instinctual fear deep within her as she ventured further into Bigfoot territory. As Elena continued along the narrow trail, she suddenly heard footsteps behind her, breaking the heavy silence. Heart racing, she turned to find a fellow hiker emerging from the trees, a tall man with tousled hair and a backpack that looked almost as worn as her own. He wore a wide grin that seemed to contrast the tension hanging in the air. "Didn't expect to find anyone else out here," he exclaimed, adjusting his gear. "I'm Jake. You must be pretty brave to hike alone in Bigfoot territory." Elena chuckled nervously, relieved yet unsure about sharing this eerie experience with someone else. "Brave or foolish, maybe," she replied, glancing over her shoulder nervously. "I've always been fascinated by the legends." Jake nodded, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Same here. I came out to see if there's any truth behind the stories, thought I'd do some investigating myself." He leaned in a little closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I can't shake the feeling we're not alone out here." A spark of excitement ignited within Elena as they fell into conversation, their shared intrigue creating an instant bond. They exchanged tales of local folklore and personal experiences with the supernatural. Each story seemed to amplify the thrill of their surroundings. Yet, amidst their laughter and camaraderie, an unspoken tension lingered. The strange occurrences in the forest loomed over them like a shadow. The comfort of companionship began to ease her fears, but as they ventured further together, both felt an undeniable sense that something was watching them from the depths of the woods. As they continued down the winding path, Elena and Jake found solace in their shared company, each step deepening their connection. The tension from earlier started to fade, replaced by laughter and engaging conversation. Jake shared stories from his own life, revealing a childhood spent exploring with his grandparents in the mountains, which ignited his passion for the outdoors. He spoke of the thrill of survival skills and how he had dreamed of being a park ranger until life's responsibilities led him down a more conventional career path. Elena listened intently, relating to his struggles with finding a balance between passion and practicality. She opened up about her own journey, recounting how she had chosen environmental science to merge her love for nature with a career that could make a difference. There was a brief pause as they both reflected on the sacrifices they had made for their chosen paths, but it was quickly followed by a shared determination to reclaim their adventurous spirits. "I guess that's why we're both out here," she said, smiling. "To remind ourselves of who we really are beneath all the expectations." As they navigated the increasingly rugged terrain together, they exchanged dreams of future adventures, backpacking through national parks, photographing wildlife, and perhaps one day even writing books about their experiences. Each shared anecdote brought them closer, illuminating their individual hopes and fears against the backdrop of the vast wilderness surrounding them. Yet, as the laughter faded into the whispers of the forest, an unsettling thought began to creep back into Elena's mind. The feeling of being watched lingered. intertwining with her blossoming friendship as the mystery of Bigfoot territory loomed over them both. As they continued along the trail, the atmosphere shifted once again. A deep, still silence enveloped them, causing both Elena and Jake to glance around anxiously. The shadows between the trees felt thicker, and the sunlight that had danced so playfully earlier became hesitant, as if afraid to penetrate the dense canopy overhead. Elena paused, her heart racing as she caught sight of something unusual, a dark figure that flickered just beyond her peripheral vision. She turned her head quickly, but it was gone as swiftly as it had appeared. "Did you see that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake stiffened, a look of concern crossing his face. "I thought I saw something too," he admitted, scanning the trees with narrowed eyes. "It's probably just our imaginations, or maybe this place is getting to us." Yet they couldn't shake the sensation that eyes were upon them, an unseen presence lurking in the depths of the forest. Every snap of a twig sent a jolt through them. Every rustle seemed amplified in the oppressive quiet. They exchanged nervous glances, unspoken fears hanging in the air. "I've heard stories about people losing their way out here," Elena said, her voice trembling slightly. "What if something is watching us?" The playful banter from earlier evaporated into an anxious tension that coiled around them like vines. Curiosity battled with an instinctual urge to flee as they pressed on, both aware that whatever lay hidden among the trees might not be mere folklore, but something altogether more real and ominous lurking just beyond their sight. As twilight descended, painting the forest in hues of purple and blue, Elena and Jake found themselves at a crossroads. The trail ahead forked, one path leading deeper into the woods and another toward a clearing that seemed perfect for camping. With the unsettling feeling of being watched still fresh in their minds, they exchanged wary glances. "I know it's getting late," Jake began, his tone hesitant. "But maybe we should camp here for the night. It might be safer than continuing in the dark." Elena felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Her initial instinct was to decline, to push forward and seek the sanctuary of daylight. Yet, a part of her recognized the strength in his suggestion. The growing darkness amplified her fears, and the idea of facing whatever might lurk in the shadows alone was daunting. "Staying together might be the best idea," she finally said, her voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "We can set up camp and keep watch. At least we won't be alone." As they began to gather firewood and set up their small tent, the air buzzed with an energy that mingled excitement and trepidation. Their reliance on one another grew more palpable, and with each shared task, they forged a bond deeper than either had anticipated. Sitting around the flickering campfire, they exchanged stories and reassured each other with laughter, but beneath the light-hearted conversation lingered an unspoken agreement. They were no longer just two adventurers. They were allies bound by a shared vulnerability in a territory that felt increasingly alive with mystery. The decision to stay together marked a turning point in their journey, one that shifted from solitary exploration to a united front against the unknown that surrounded them. As night enveloped the forest, the once vibrant hues of twilight faded into an inky darkness, broken only by the flickering light of their campfire. The flames danced and crackled, casting eerie shadows that flickered across the trees, transforming familiar shapes into haunting figures. The air grew cooler, and with it came a palpable tension, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Elena and Jake settled into their sleeping bags, gratitude for companionship battling with the rising unease that seemed to thrum around them. As they shared stories beneath the stars, the sounds of the night began to shift. A low rustling came from the underbrush nearby, sending both of them stiffening in silence. It was followed by a faint but distinct snap of a twig, a sound so sharp it felt like a warning. "Did you hear that?" Elena whispered, her voice barely breaking the stillness. Jake nodded, eyes wide as he strained to listen. The rustling returned, closer this time, and an unshakable feeling crept over them that they were not alone. The wind picked up, howling through the treetops like a mournful spirit. Shadows shifted in the periphery of their vision, and every gust seemed to carry whispers that taunted their imaginations. The night felt alive with unseen movements, branches swayed ominously as if shaking off something sinister. Their laughter from earlier faded into anxious breaths as they shared nervous glances. In that moment, the thrill of adventure morphed into something darker, fear intertwined with curiosity about what lay hidden just beyond the glow of their fire. Whatever watched them from the depths of Bigfoot territory felt closer than ever, amplifying the unknown that loomed in the shadows surrounding their campsite. After what felt like hours of listening to the unsettling noises surrounding their campsite, a sudden, unmistakable rustling jolted Elena and Jake from their uneasy silence. It was a sound unlike the wind or the typical forest creatures. It was deep and deliberate, as if something large was maneuvering among the trees. Their eyes met, and a shared look of determination sparked between them. We can't just sit here, Elena said, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. We need to see what that is. Jake hesitated for a moment, but the resolute look in her eyes reassured him. Together, he asked, gripping his flashlight tightly. Together, she confirmed. They crawled out of their sleeping bags, the chill of the night air making them shiver. As they equipped themselves with flashlights, they exchanged a silent understanding that this was a test of both courage and trust. The fire illuminated their faces, casting long shadows behind them as they stepped into the darkness beyond the campsite. The forest loomed larger and more foreboding under the moonlight, and every crack of a branch sounded like a summons from an unseen observer. They moved cautiously through the underbrush, their hearts pounding as they called out softly to each other amidst the increasing tension. Then another rustle sounded closer this time, so close that their breaths caught in their throats simultaneously. With a shared glance that communicated both fear and resolve, they pressed on, knowing that confronting whatever lurked nearby could either strengthen their bond or fracture it forever. Every step felt monumental as they ventured into the unknown together, fueled by a mixture of adrenaline and trust in one another's presence. As Elena and Jake pressed deeper into the forest, the air thick with tension, a sudden pause fell over the night. The rustling noises had ceased, replaced by an eerie stillness that seemed to swallow sound. They exchanged wary glances, their flashlights illuminating the trees around them, casting long shadows that danced like spirits in the night. Then, out of the corner of her eye, Elena caught a glimpse of something unusual, a massive silhouette partially obscured by the dense underbrush. Her heart raced as she turned her flashlight toward it, illuminating an enormous figure standing motionless among the trees. It was covered in dark fur and appeared to be watching them with two penetrating eyes that glimmered like twin stars reflecting light. Jake, she whispered urgently, pointing toward the figure. Do you see that? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he turned to face the creature. For a moment, they stood transfixed, grappling with disbelief and fear. Was this a figment of their imagination or a legendary being incarnate? The creature shifted slightly, revealing its massive size and powerful build, confirming their worst fears. In that charged moment, they felt a mix of terror and awe. Everything they had read about Bigfoot and folklore crashed into reality before them. The creature let out a low growl that echoed through the trees, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. Before they could react further, it vanished into the shadows with terrifying speed, leaving only silence in its wake. Shaken yet exhilarated, Elena and Jake exchanged incredulous looks. Their beliefs about legends and reality had collided in spectacular fashion. This encounter would forever change how they viewed not only the forest but their own capacity for bravery in facing the unknown together. In the aftermath of their encounter, the air thick with exhilaration and fear, Elena and Jake returned to their campsite, still buzzing with disbelief. I can't believe we just saw Bigfoot, Elena exclaimed, her voice a mix of amazement and nervous laughter. Maybe we should start charging for tours. Jake chuckled, shaking his head. Next time, we can just put up a sign, come see the elusive Bigfoot, guaranteed sightings or your money back. Their laughter broke the tension that had gripped them earlier, the humor acting as a balm for their frayed nerves. They settled beside the campfire, each rekindling their sense of adventure in the glow of its warmth. You know, Elena began playfully, if I write a book about this, I could call it Bigfoot Hunters, a comedy of errors. Or Two City Slickers in the Wild, Jake added, grinning. We could host a podcast about our expert wilderness survival skills. As they exchanged jokes and relived moments from their night of terror, the atmosphere transformed from one of fear to camaraderie. The shadows around them no longer felt quite so threatening. Instead, they became a backdrop for stories, laughter, and a remarkable bond formed through shared experiences. In that moment, they embraced the chaos of the evening and recognized its transformative power. What had once been a night of lurking fears morphed into an unforgettable adventure, one that would resonate with them long after they returned to civilization. Together, they had confronted their anxieties and emerged stronger, united by both bravery and humor amid chaos. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, Elena reflected on her journey. What had begun as a quest for solitary adventure had transformed into an unexpected exploration of companionship. Initially, she had sought solace in the wilderness, believing that solitude would provide clarity and freedom. Yet, the events of the past few days had proven otherwise. Jake's presence had shifted her perspective profoundly. In moments of fear and uncertainty, it was not isolation that fortified her spirit but rather the camaraderie they forged together. Their shared laughter amid chaos had illuminated the importance of human connection, especially when facing the unknown. I thought I wanted to hike alone to find myself, Elena mused aloud, glancing at Jake. But I think I found something even more valuable, someone to share these moments with. Jake smiled knowingly, his eyes reflecting the firelight. Yeah, sometimes facing fears is easier when you know someone else is right there with you, he replied. The night sky felt expansive above them, but so did their newfound bond. It was as if both were woven into a singular tapestry of adventure. They had ventured into Bigfoot territory seeking answers to myths and legends, but emerged with deeper insights about trust, friendship, and resilience. With every flicker of the campfire, Elena felt grateful for this unexpected journey, the realization that while solitude can offer peace, companionship can illuminate even the darkest paths and make every challenge surmountable together. As dawn broke over the forest, painting the sky in soft pastels, Elena and Jake prepared to leave Bigfoot territory. The air hung thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, remnants of their unforgettable night lingering in both their minds. Elena felt a sense of gratitude for the transformation she had undergone during this journey. She had approached the wilderness seeking solitude and self-discovery, but instead found a companion who had shared both fear and laughter with her. Thank you for being here with me, she said, turning to Jake as they packed up their gear. I thought I wanted to hike alone, but I see now how much more enriching this experience has been with someone by my side. Jake smiled, slinging his backpack over his shoulder. I feel the same way. Facing all those fears alone would have been overwhelming, but together we turned it into something special. As they retraced their steps through the forest, Elena contemplated the balance between solitude and companionship. She appreciated the introspective moments spent alone on the trail, but realized that sharing her adventures added depth to her experiences. The connection forged with Jake had illuminated the path ahead, making her eager for future hikes, not just for the solitude they offered but for the friendships they could cultivate along the way. With every step leading them back to civilization, Elena looked forward to new adventures with a broader perspective. She no longer sought isolation as an escape. Instead, she embraced the idea that true exploration encompasses both the solitude of nature and the warmth of human connection, each enhancing the other harmoniously.